There are a bunch of similarities between Gossip Girl and Sex and the City. Both of these shows are absolutely incredible with tons of episodes to binge watch. Here's a breakdown of the biggest similarities these incredible TV shows share. Both shows are based in New York City. Gossip Girl and Sex and the City are both based in New York City. And both of these shows never let you forget it. The characters spend loads of time in Manhattan on the Upper East Side, where they go shopping, visit restaurants, attend galas, go on dates, and so much more. The main characters are both writers, Carrie Bradshaw and Dan Humphrey. Dan Humphrey and Carrie Bradshaw are the lead characters in Gossip Girl and Sex and the City, respectively. They both happen to be writers who narrate their shows. Eventually, Carrie's column for the New York Star gets turned into a book. Eventually, Dan's manuscript for his novel, Inside, gets published and becomes a New York Times bestseller. Blair Waldorf and Charlotte York as brunettes with princess energy. Blair Waldorf and Charlotte York come from Gossip Girl and Sex and the City, respectively. They both exude princess energy with beautiful brown hair and elegant attitudes. Charlotte and Blair both know they deserve to be treated like royalty, and they never accept anything less. Serena van der Woodsen and Samantha Jones as free-spirited and sexually liberated blondes. Serena van der Woodsen and Samantha Jones come from Gossip Girl and Sex and the City, respectively. They're both thought of as free-spirited and sexually liberated blondes in both of their shows. Serena and Samantha are both social, friendly, and well-liked by nearly everyone they interact with. They're both seen as the life of the party wherever they go. They both also have a bit of a rebellious side to them. Both shows have episode arcs in Los Angeles. Although Gossip Girl and Sex and the City are both based in New York City, both shows include episode arcs in Los Angeles. On Gossip Girl, all the main characters fly out to Los Angeles for a few episodes, while Serena is trying to make it as a behind-the-scenes worker and assistant working in the Hollywood industry. Carrie and her friends visit Los Angeles when it's time for her to meet up with Matthew McConaughey to discuss options for turning her book into a movie. Both shows have episode arcs in Paris, France. The characters in Gossip Girl and Sex and the City both spend time in Paris, France as well. In Gossip Girl, Serena and Blair visit Paris for a summer before returning back to the hustle and bustle of New York City life. Chuck also tries to start his life over as Henry Prince in Paris for a temporary stint. In Sex and the City, Carrie relocated to Paris to be with Alexander Petrovsky before their problematic breakup. Fashion is a big deal in both shows. Fashion is a massive deal in Gossip Girl and Sex and the City. Fashion shows and fashion designers are mentioned heavily in both shows from beginning to end. Jenny Humphrey does everything in her power to make it as a fashion designer, while Carrie Bradshaw spends time occasionally writing fashion articles for Vogue magazine. Nate Archibald and Smith Jerrod as young, attractive men who date older women. Nate Archibald from Gossip Girl and Smith Jerrod from Sex and the City have something in common. They are both young, attractive men who happen to date cougar women. Nate was involved with multiple older women, including Catherine Beaton and Diana Payne, while Smith only had eyes for Samantha. Both shows had overly negative and pessimistic female leads, Miranda Hobbs and Jenny Humphrey. While both Gossip Girl and Sex and the City are full of optimistic characters who can see the bright side in everything, both shows also have overly negative and pessimistic female leads. In Sex and the City, that happened to be Miranda Hobbs. She was capable of finding something to nitpick about any topic. Jenny Humphrey is the most negative character in Gossip Girl since she always had something to complain about, even though most of her issues were the result of her own self-sabotage. Messy cheating scandals and love triangles in both shows, Serena, Nate, and Blair, and Big, Carrie, and Aiden. The cheating scandals and love triangles in Gossip Girl and Sex and the City were both super intense. In Gossip Girl, Serena helped Nate cheat on Blair, which was especially disturbing since she and Blair were supposed to be best friends. After that, she skipped town for boarding school, which added more salt to Blair's wound. Blair didn't find out that Nate hooked up till later on, which left her feeling even more betrayed. In Sex and the City, Carrie cheated on Aiden with Big, even though Aiden proved himself to be an amazing partner who genuinely had her best interest at heart. She went down the path of toxicity with no good reason and ultimately broke Aiden's heart by crushing his trust. Unplanned pregnancies for Miranda Hobbs and Georgina Sparks. Unplanned pregnancies occurred in both Gossip Girl and Sex and the City. In Sex and the City, Miranda Hobbs accidentally got knocked up after hooking up with her ex-boyfriend, Steve. It worked out in the end for Miranda because she and Steve ultimately tied the knot and moved in together. On Gossip Girl, Georgina Sparks got pregnant and tried to blame Dan Humphrey for impregnating her. In the end, he found out the baby wasn't actually his child, but the drama he went through before uncovering that fact was horrendous. Art gallery career paths for Charlotte York and Rufus Humphrey. In Sex and the City, Charlotte York worked in art galleries before her first marriage. She majored in art history and completely fell in love with the beauty of historical and modern artwork. In Gossip Girl, Rufus Humphrey owned an art gallery that he was just as passionate about before starting a career in music management. Big and Chuck Bass as emotionally unavailable men who eventually commit. Although Big and Chuck are hardly comparable since Chuck has so many redeeming qualities while Big is a big loser, they both still reserve a little bit of space to be compared to each other. For the longest time, Big struggled to commit to Carrie, but eventually they end up getting married. For a while there, Chuck struggled to even say the words "I love you" to Blair, but eventually they got married as well. A disdain for Brooklyn is mentioned in both shows. In both shows, the main characters seem to have a great disdain for Brooklyn. In Gossip Girl, Blair vocalizes how lame she thinks Brooklyn is whenever she gets the chance. In Sex and the City, Miranda and her friends were all disturbed by the idea of Miranda relocating to Brooklyn when she was looking for a new home to move into. Eventually, she decided that moving to Brooklyn was still the right thing to do, since she needed to prioritize raising her son. Dorota and Magda as loving hired helpers. Dorota and Magda have a lot in common when it comes to being hired helpers who give a lot of love. Dorota comes from Gossip Girl as a woman who remained loyal to Blair from start to finish. Magda was hired by Miranda to keep her house clean, and later to help take care of Miranda's baby. At first, Miranda thought Magda was judgmental, but eventually their relationship improved as they grew closer. Both shows hone in on interesting BFF storylines. Truth be told, Gossip Girl and Sex and the City place a huge emphasis on the beauty of female friendships. In Gossip Girl, the friendship between Serena and Blair goes through bouts of toxicity, but in the end, they always prove how truly loyal they are to each other. Serena and Blair have each other's backs, even though they deal with temporary stretches of anger against each other. In Sex and the City, the friendship connections between Carrie, Miranda, Samantha, and Charlotte were always nice to root for. It was always extremely obvious that those four women had each other's backs. What do you think of all these commonalities? Did we miss any? Let us know in the comment section.